Hello, welcome to the channel. In this video we are going to talk about methods. We're going to kind of continue on where we left off. We've already done a couple videos on methods, different ways to use them. We can come down here, we can scroll down, we can see the very first type we talked about is the method with no return, no parameters. We have a void method, meaning the return is void, there's nothing to return. And the parameter bracket here, the place where parameters would be passed through, is actually empty and there's no parameters to bring in. We have three of those we've already created, kind of just a little examples, mock-up type of deal. And then up here we have a method that is a void method, so it has no return, but it in fact does take in parameters or bring down parameters in order to use inside of our method, when printing something out. We use it up here already in another video. We can run it just to show you the usage of the parameters. We've passed along these values that we've gathered, and we use them in printing out a mock report card. Alright, so the next one that we're going to talk about now is we're just going to clear this one. I'll keep the variables here. We've already declared them and we're going to use them. We'll use them again. The next one we're going to talk about is a method that returns a value as well as using parameters in it. Alright, very simply what we're going to do in this one, we'll create a new string type variable and we'll call it letter grade. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to take this number that was given to us and we're going to convert it into the letter grade. Okay, so if we come down here, we can just work inside of this for now. We can create our logic as we go through. So we'll take an if statement and we'll say if student grade is greater than, say, 90, greater than or equal to 90, then we can just simply do a system.out.print line, and we'll do we'll just give it a letter grade of A, I guess, right? Okay, so actually if we went up to greater than 95, we can do an A plus. Let's do it that way. All right, we'll go with all the little extras here. All right, so we get an A plus. Now we'll say else if, and we'll move forward in our logic here, and this will get pretty quick. We'll just set this up. We'll put this down in here. Say if it's greater than 90, they have just an A, I guess, right? I'm really not too sure on the completes of how this actually works. So I'm pretty sure at 95, greater than 95, you do got an A plus. At 90, you got an A, and we'll just copy this and we'll just continue downward. If they got an 85, pretty sure that'd be like a minus, maybe. Might be a B plus. So I'm really not sure how or wait, here, actually, if you're greater than or equal to 100, you have an A plus. If you got a 95, you got an A. If you got a 90, you have an A minus. That makes a little more sense to me. All right, so we'll come down. If you have an 85 at this point, you might have a B minus or a B plus. That'd be kind of bad. B plus, right? If you got an 80, you might have an actual B. I might be messing this right up, but nonetheless, it's okay. It's not a big deal. 75 might be a B minus. All right. At 70, we got a B or a C. Sorry, a C. We'll say C plus. Pretty sure this is wrong. I'm messing something up here. Greater than 100, equal to 100, you have an A plus. 95, you got an A. 90, you got an A minus. Whatever. You can fix it if you know. If you know what's going on, fix it up yourself. We're just kind of going through this as just a test logic when it comes down. 65 at 60, you got a, oh, we missed out on the C. 60, we'll just say you got a C minus. Come down to 55, you know, you got a D plus. Might be wrong, but oh well. And at 50, you now have a D, right? And then we can do one more for if you are now less than, you now have a F. All right, you're failing. We'll just say else. I'll give it an else, a default value. And we'll just say system dot out dot print line. We'll just say invalid input, give it like an error message type of deal. So it's not a big deal, but so for greater than 100, anything over 100 will get you this. We can even put a little clause in there with our, you know, Boolean operator and say and Control C less than or equal to 125. All right. So at this point, you know, it can't go any higher than 125. I don't think any student's really going to be that remarkable. You might, you know, bonus marks and stuff like that in class if you're hitting it right on the nail right on the head, then you're going to definitely, you know, exceed it. So let's just run it, make sure our logic's actually sound pretty quickly. You know, you pop this little thing together here. So now we got a B plus at 85.6. Okay, and if we change this now, we go down to 55. We can run the program again. Oh, for some reason it's still running. And we have a D plus, right? Does that make sense? When we get down to 55, we have a D plus. Okay, so did I miss any numbers here as we went through? We went 90, from 100 to 95, 90, 85, 80, 75, 70, 65, 60, 55, 50, 40. We're greater than or equal to 50. And at this point it would be less than 50. We don't need the equal sign there. But that looks pretty decent. It's not too bad. It looks like it's going to work for us. So now let's actually create a method for this. Let's put this all into a method. And we'll come down here and outside of our main again. We'll see we're outside. We're going to come outside of this main block. And we'll start our method outside the main, but inside of our private or our public class file. Okay. So this way we're going to start it off same way, public static, and this time it is actually going to return a value. So what we can type here is string, okay, instead of void. Now it is a string. We're going to send back a string, and we can see this. Well, first, yeah, we'll type void for a second here, and then I'll kind of explain it as we go, okay? So we'll say now this is a convert to convert grade, there we go. We can call it to letter if you want. Convert grade to letter. You can say just convert grade letter, okay? As long as you know what it is, as long as you're kind of getting what's going on, then that's perfectly fine. So we'll just drop down and we have all this. You know, we have now created our method, public static void. At this point, it does not return a value because it's void here, but we'll talk about that and we'll switch this up. We can take all this code and we'll drag it down. We'll just Control X to cut it out and we'll just paste it into here now. All right. Now you can see all of our, you know, our code's now living inside of our method. It's going to be used with this method, and we can then take this, close that off. I just like to keep things uniform and neat. As you can see, we do require it to pass in a parameter. We use the student grade inside of our method quite often, and now it's going to need to pass that parameter in. Okay, now student grade is, if we look up here, we have a student grade that we like to use. This was the logic that we were using it with. All right, so student grade is a double, so we'll declare double. We'll just rename it the exact same thing. Makes things easy, nice and uniform. All right, and now the problem that we're having in this form is that when we do this, it's fine now, okay? It'll print it out. But say we wanted to actually, we have this other report card that we want to use to print out, the student name and stuff like that. And then we can actually add into here, we'll add in now the student, or we'll call letter grade, okay? Letter grade, so student grade, we'll say, we'll call this letter grade. All right, and now we have an issue because we just added this to it, so it's going to have to actually pass this value in through here, right? So we'll just get that all set up. We know it's a string, and we'll call it letter grade, the same as it is. All right, so now we have it actually set up now to print it and bring it into our report card. So it's all set up, ready to go. Our report card's ready. We don't want to just print this out like this. What we want to do is we actually want to get all this data up here and then bring it down into our, our print report card method so we can actually use it and print it out here, right? So it'd be kind of pointless for us to simply print this to the screen at any given time. So what we can do is actually turn this into a return type, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to just change this to string. And the reason that we changed it to string is because the value or data type that we are sending back out is actually a string type, okay? And we know this because when we've set up our variable up here, it was a string letter grade, right? If this was a double and you were trying to pass back a double value, then this here would just, convert to double. You can send back any type of data type that you wish. It depends on how your method is working. You can use double, you can use int, you can use short, you can use byte, but in this instance, we are actually sending back a string, all right? So now it takes actually a return. It's going to return a value back out of it. If you notice down here, now we're seeing an error, missing return statement, okay? And all these system out print line objects here are like methods that we're using. Now we're just going to actually take these, we can remove these out of it, okay? And we're just going to now type return beside it, okay? And each one now, instead of having it printed, we're just going to return that value, okay? And it's in the case that, if this does resolve as true, like we talked about in our ifs, then we come in here and we just return back out, okay? So if this one becomes true, we return back out. And it's not returning every single line. It's only if one or the other resolves as a true. You can notice, as we do have a return statement, but we do have this missing return statement error still. And that's because not every one of our conditions down the line here has a return statement, okay? So if, this was not true, it would check at this one. If this is not true, it would check at this one. And this doesn't have a return, so now it's not going to actually send back data, okay? And we'll just type these in. We'll put all of our returns in. And you can do it in a different form as well. You could maybe store it in a value and then just return it all at the bottom. It doesn't really necessarily matter the logic that you're going with. We'll just do it this way, okay? Fairly simple, fairly easy. And we are returning back a string type, okay? So hope this isn't too confusing for you. It shouldn't be. At this point, it's not too difficult of a concept. A lot of people do kind of struggle with the methods when it comes down to the use and why and how. I do hope that you're understanding and you're seeing this. If not, I would hope that you would actually, write something in the comments that, you need a little extra guidance in this form so that, I can actually maybe make a different video or maybe even talk to you just to see what it is that you're not understanding when it comes down to it. I wouldn't mind helping you out if you need it. So we're almost done. We got one more return type to put in, and here it is. And there. Now you can see our error goes away because every single time that this is going to, resolve it, even at the else, it's going to have a return. Okay. So now we're all set up, and we'll now come outside here, and it's time to now use our method. Okay. And to use it, same thing. We would just say convert underscore grade underscore letter. Okay. And we put our brackets, and then we close it off. Now it does take a parameter of the student grade. Okay, so we have to actually pass in the student grade so it can be used throughout our method to evaluate the student grade, and then we'll pass back. It'll bring back to here this value, or whatever value it actually resolved down here to. It will send it back out and put it into here. It'll be at this point. So we need to capture that. We need to store it somewhere, okay? And that's why we set up this variable letter grade. So we'll just copy this, and we'll just put it here. We'll put the equal sign, okay? So now when the data comes back out of here, we have a place to store it, all right? And then if we simply, do a system .out .print line, we can then just print this value just to show you. We're not going to leave this way. We're going to continue on making our application, if you will, or talking about how these will all work out. So now you can see we have a D minus again. Okay, so it's still working the exact same way. A 55 is going to resolve to D minus. We can look through the logic. Our program starts at our main. We come down here. We start line by line from top to bottom. We set up these variables. We've stuck data in them already. We will work that out later. So we got now down to here at a double 55. Okay. We jump down. We want to store the letter grade value inside of here. We've got to go to this method, passing in the student grade. So we pass 55 into here. We jump down to the student grade, or convert grade letter method, and we accept the 55 data from the student that was passed in here, and then we evaluate it. So we come down here, that's false, so we jump to the next one. That's false, we jump to the next one. We continue jumping down until one of these will actually come out as true, and we are here at, is it greater than or equal to 55? And we know we passed in the value 55, so we will then return this value. Once we return, we say return value. It'll throw us back up here, and it will store 55 into this grade, our letter grade variable. We then print it out, and you do see that we get a D plus, right? So we change this to 85 and we run the code. You will see B plus. All right. So I hope that's, kind of clear, or getting a little bit more clear, why we would use these methods. And you can see that, we have all these, methods declared down here, and we'll use them. We'll use them at the very end of all this. We'll kind of go through and actually build a structured program out of everything that we're doing at this point. But now, the logic is coming together. We're kind of building this up as we go. And this method here is this method returns a value and takes parameters. All right. So again, we now have, it's not void, it's string, so it has a return type, and it does in fact take in parameters. All right. So it's fairly simple. I hope that that's kind of clear to you, and if not, then just continue along here. We will use them a lot more throughout the tutorial, so I hope that you will see more of the value and use in these methods. They're going to be used quite a bit. It keeps your program very organized. It keeps it a lot more modular, if you will, and And you know, we can continuously use these over and over and over again. So now, you know, say down here we print out this letter grade, right? And then student grade is somebody input another value for you, and it was equal to, you know, 98. Okay, so now if you want, we can just take this again, we can reuse that letter grade, we can bring it down here, and then instead of writing all this code over, you know, down here, now we just simply call it. We call this method, we go down to this method, and we now take our newly changed value, we store it inside of here, and then we could print it out. So now you're going to see, you know, two different. You'll see 85, which is a B plus, and then the 98, which is going to be the A. All right, so that's kind of the use. It's multiple use, and look at, it's very small amounts of code that you had to write. You know, you just reused this chunk of code. Okay, so that's where methods help a lot, is reusability, making it more functionable and not having to have so much code written up here inside of our main logic. Okay, so do hope that's helpful to you. We got a couple more to talk about, and we'll talk about those in our next couple videos here. So I do hope you liked it. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments, questions, or ideas for the future videos that you'd like to see, just leave it in the comment section below. If you could subscribe to the channel and check out the rest of it, that'd be great. And thanks for watching again, and we'll catch you in the next video.